Welcome to another episode of In Conversation with Rashmi. Today I have a very special guest with me all the way from Bangalore, India, Anju Maudgal Kadam. Thank you so much, Anju, for being here. She is a communications professional, the founder and chief nurturer of hashtag 100 Sari Pact, a mentor to entrepreneurs, startups, founder and director of WebTV.in, an ambassador for Pinkathon, India's first women's only run, a yoga instructor. So if there's one description that suits her best, I think it's the custodian of stories. So thank you so much, Anju, for joining me in this conversation. Pleasure having you here.
It's my pleasure being here. I'm so delighted to be here. And I'm quite anxious to know what we're going to be doing now.
You have so many hats you wear. So, there's lots we're going to talk about today in our conversation. So take me back to where it all began with your hashtag 100 Sari Pact. What was it about and how did your journey begin?
Sure. So the 100-side pact is actually not very much in the past. It's just 5 years old, given that my life is 52 years old now. It's 5 years old, and in 2015, actually, it's a funny story. And it's a mundane story, and I always say something special comes out of mundaneness. Something special comes out of of just the regular. This was not a premeditated kind of thing that, we're going to do this and this is going to happen. Nothing. It happened to us, literally. So I was actually doing the 100-kilometer Oxfam walk that year in January of 2015. And I used to be in my tights and my t-shirts, and I used to have blisters all over. And I would say, I want to wear my saris. I want to wear my saris, and I haven't had the chance. Even on weekends, we would be doing our practice walks of 25 kilometers, 50 kilometers.
Wow.
And then in March, I remember having this conversation actually on Feb 28th. A friend happened to call for something completely different. And she said, what are you doing? And I said, no, I feel like wearing my saris. I was just being sulky and pouty at that point on the phone and saying, I want to do this. And she said, come on, Anju, you rock the sari. I would wear saris even before that.
Yeah.
And she said, just do it. And then on my Facebook wall, she came and posted a photograph of an Indian actor, Neena Gupta.
Okay.
And said, you're going to rock this look. It was almost like a bluish, purplish sari like this with I remember a burnt orange blouse. And she said, come on, do it. Put the phone down, and the phone rings again, and another person is on the line. And this time it was my co-founder of the 100 Side Pact. Again, by sheer accident, we became co-founders. And she called and said, what are you doing? And we were discussing something that we had to do the next week. And I said, I'm going to start wearing my saris. And I'm going to wear them 100 times. And I'm going to tell the stories of the saris because, it's not a vanity check. It's something meaningful. I think these saris have just been sitting in the cupboard. And I want to air them, wear them, and tell their stories. And she said, okay, let's do it. I'm with you. Mm-hmm. That's how it was born. Literally on a phone conversation.
And it just snowballed into a movement.
And that's why a pact.
Okay.
It was a pact between the two of us to wear our saris 100 times that year, which roughly translates to about 2 a week if you take the entire year. We were in March, so we had lost 2 months, but we thought we'd catch up, and we did. Oh my God, we did. And that's how it began, literally. By the end of the first week, I knew we were onto something fabulous, delightful. I think the 100 Side Pact in the last decade is perhaps the best thing that happened to me. It's brought me so much joy. The riches are friendships, the riches are bonds, the riches are bringing women together, making a platform where they can actually come and tell the stories of their lives through the medium of a sari. It became a very powerful medium, and it was all-encompassing. All over the world, we were getting stories in. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the story of the 100 Side Pact.
How has the storytelling healed women across the world? So you've heard so many stories through, the stories they've shared with photographs of their ancestral saris and different kinds. And I've seen a few, and some are really heartwarming. So why was it important for you to have these voices heard and have these women share these stories?
So I think I was predisposed to the stories of women with just the kind of work that I do in my life. I am a big champion of women causes, whether it's Pinkathon, whether it's mentoring women to come back into the second innings of work after they've had their babies. Whatever it was, I really think when women support women, fabulous things happen. And I think that this is not just the decade, but this is the time for women to shine. But so that was a belief, that was sort of my belief system in any case. When the 100 Sari Pact happened, I realized, and like I said, it happened to me. It was not something that I planned. I realized how powerful storytelling was for women, because in history, in our books, in storytelling, in oral storytelling, stories are often told with the men being the hero, the character around which the story is built. It's very seldom that you hear women-centric stories, or there'll be fantastical stories, you know, the Rani of Jhansi, this of that, or, you know, all of that, Cleopatra. But ordinary women telling the stories of big moments of their lives sometimes, or just of ordinary moments of their lives. And why did it become powerful for me? And I think for almost everyone. So I don't think, even if it started on a, okay, let me join this seems like a fun thing to do, I think people stayed on because they got something out of it. And what did they get out of it? Short answer, I think certainly validation for their story, for who they are. And it could be a simple story of, I'm feeling beautiful today, to a far more complex story of walking out of a house with the 5 saris that this woman got in her from her parents, and walking out of a broken marriage. So, you know, the spectrum has been, I mean, it's been a huge canvas that these stories have been painted on. And I think that we were all trying to answer the question, willy-nilly, who am I?
True.
And what matters most to me? And I found that that is what was pulling the women in to tell their stories, to share their stories. And believe me, this was a bit of a shocker, because this was social media we were telling our stories on.
Yes.
The amplification of the message and of the stories came from social media, not a platform that everyone was comfortable sharing their innermost, very private stories, but they did. And I think that's what we did. We kind of built this sisterhood of trust.
Yes.
And I think every one of us wants an audience.
And I think women also find that safe space where they can open up and share amongst, you know, that close net of group of people. So I think that's what you created as well, as a safe place for women to share their stories.
And even today, I get, Rashmi, messages. Of course, they're fewer now. The momentum has kind of, you know, sort of become a sort of a steady pace. That year was crazy, good crazy. But even now I get messages saying, thank you, Anju. I'm sitting here with a friend and I met her on the 100 Sari.
That's wonderful. And that's all it is.
Or, you know, we've done. And that's all it is. That's all it is. It's just making connections, which is why I actually used a hashtag during the 100 Sari Pact. I coined it and said, we are all connected. And of course, the COVID virus is showing us how much we are all connected. But we are all connected in so many, many ways. And all we have to do is find our connections. And I think that is where we found connections of storytelling. And we found a little piece of us in other people's stories also. They may not have been our stories, but there was a little bit that we identified with. And I think that was precious.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me, reading those stories too, some of them, again, it brought back a lot of my, you know, childhood memories with my grandmom, or, you know, things like that with my aunts and cousins and everybody, which, especially when you move out of the country you've grown and lived up with, that was special. So yeah, and you
must tell me a sari story sometime.
Definitely. I'm glad, you know, I decided I'm going to wear a sari today. What best way to, you know, honor this conversation. So thank you again. It gave me a chance to dress up too. So your journey from there, you're also a champion of health and fitness. So you are a brand ambassador for Pinkathon. And how did that journey go on? And it's the first women's run that was organized by, Pinkathon. So tell me a little about that.
So Pinkathon is actually the brainwave and the brainchild, and the founder is Milind Soman. He's for the world that does not know, he's an erstwhile and actually continues to be a supermodel of India, but also a very fit person who actually was, if I'm not mistaken, a national swimmer also. So he's always been very, very fit. I think now that I know him, I realize that the large influence, the biggest inspiration in his life has been his mother. And I think that, he's also grown up in a family with sisters. So I think that it came to him that women needed a platform where they could come out and for Pinkathon it's running, but really to do something to take care of themselves. And women, therefore, feel empowered enough to do this. See, in India, you know this, but for our viewers and for our listeners who don't know this, it remains a conservative society. Running requires you to wear sometimes itsy bitsy clothes, maybe shorts, and not all women are comfortable doing this. Perhaps not their families are comfortable that they are doing this. So yes, of course there are rebels, but you can't rebel every single thing. So we've created over the years now a safe space for women to run in a women's only run. We have women running in hijabs. We have women, baby wearing mums running. We have older women running in saris, and whatever. And really, it's less of it's not a timed run. It's not a competitive kind of thing. We have many, 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 many categories. We have blind runners, visually impaired. It really is a celebration of womanhood. And that's why it's got the imagination of all the women all over India, and now in a couple of places abroad also, that it is actually celebrating women and the empowering act of self-care.
Women have become more aware that they need time for their own health, to focus on self-care for themselves so they can, do better for themselves in days ahead. So this event that Pinkathon had begun with, and this trend that has gone on with running, do you think women are taking care of themselves even more now?
So I'll tell you, Pinkathon is now, I think, in about 11 or 13 cities in India, and I meet a lot of these women in my work. There are some hesitant, there are some that have trod the path and are convinced. So it's a journey, Rashmi. It's not a instantaneous kind of change that happens. It's a journey, and it's a journey. It's not just a physical journey, but it's also a journey in the mind, right? For most women, are women looking after themselves better? I think women who have the luxury to look after themselves better, who have the luxury of choice, have taken the choice more often than not of looking after themselves. I'm qualifying in this manner because, again, India is a very complex kind of country where perhaps sometimes you don't even have the choice. The kind of family, and then of course, we're talking about privilege, we're talking about so many things that come into play in a decision where the woman steps out of the house, whether she steps out to work, whether she steps out for fun, whatever this fun thing is, whether she steps out to look after herself, or she just dedicates an hour. See, I think that any woman listening to this, no matter from which country she is or which ethnicity she is, it applies to everyone. The women have always been the nurturers. It's almost considered selfish to look after yourself, to put yourself first, because we've always been told to put our families before us, or to be the nurturer, the carer, the caregiver. So it's also a mind shift, I feel, where you decide that you're going to look after yourself. Why? And many, many times the answer to the why is so that I can look after others better.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. True. Yeah.
Apart from looking after my own self, if I am healthy, I am able to give more to everyone that I care for. And I think that that's a big driver, big trigger for women to start looking after themselves. Like I said, if they have the luxury that they can afford to do this.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're with the lockdown now, you have a very social and active lifestyle pre-COVID days, which,
Yeah.
with family and friends. So with the lockdown now, how has that impacted what you do? Is it you're still on social media, but yet I know having those real conversations, meeting people in public areas and spaces, that is a big constraint right now for you guys in India. So tell me a little about how you're handling that.
Good moments and bad moments. I don't necessarily have good days and bad days. I haven't had any bad days.
Mhm.
I had a couple of anxious moments. I also have a son who's in London who's studying there, first year freshman. So, and he wasn't able to come back. So there's a little bit of anxiety there, though he's safe and he's fine and he's actually moved in with family. So if I had any anxious parts, it was just sort of worrying about my son, perhaps, or just lamenting the fact that we were not together as family. I am I'm a very, very social person.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm also a very private person, and I don't think that these two are opposites of each other. Like most people think that they can be. You're either an introvert or you're an extrovert. You're either this or you're that. No, I think I can be an extremely private person. I live my life on social media, but I do let you know what I want you to let you know, want you to know about my life. I'm obviously not sharing the things that I don't want you to know.
Mm-hmm.
And when I say you, I mean the world.
Yeah.
Rashmi, I've been fine in the
Mm-hmm.
house.
Mm-hmm.
I'm okay. I'm happy with myself.
That's
and
amazing. And
you know, and I have a husband who's also been home. I have another teenage daughter who's also been home, and again we speak from an immense place of privilege where we have food to eat. Clothes. It's a roti kapda makan syndrome now. If you have clothes to wear, food to eat, a house to live in, you're lucky.
I know it puts a
That's
lot of things into perspective during these times, right?
it does. And I think that what we've done as a family
Mm-hmm.
and as individually also for myself is count our blessings more than crib about what we can't do.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. We'll get back to normal. It's okay. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Practice with yoga. You've started online sessions. So tell me a little
Yes.
about that.
So exercise has always been my happy space.
Mm-hmm.
Always, always. I may look a particular type, but I've always exercised. And it's been all kinds of things. I've done CrossFit, I've done Zumba, I've done functional training, I've done Pilates, I've done everything. You throw it at me and I've done it all.
Mm-hmm.
I've done some Tai Chi, I've done some aqua, in the pool, I swim. But yoga is where I find myself. I gravitate there for the days that I'm sort of a little shaky in the head, or the days that I just want to express gratitude or just go quiet and inwards. It's the mat that actually is my shrink, I would say. I really, really sort of find solitude on the mat immensely healing.
Mm-hmm.
How did I get? So I've always been, it's that thing, right? I mean, it's my thing. Yoga is my thing. I've been practicing yoga for many years now. I can't even remember, 20, 25, 30 years maybe. Practicing yoga. So, going to a class, doing this. It's always been my wish to be a trained yoga teacher, to actually, hold on to a certificate that says that I am a trained yoga instructor.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of times my friends would tell me, hey, can we do some yoga together or whatever? And a shared practice with friends is very different from teaching, right?
Sure.
So I did that. So when I turned 40,
Mm-hmm.
I made myself a promise that every year I would learn one new thing. And it could be something as silly as, I don't know, not silly, but salsa or something. I mean, I went and did a DJ course, and I can sort of
Nice.
mix music. And 1 year I tried to reteach myself running. I've never enjoyed running, but I kind of tried to find my running mojo.
Mm-hmm.
I tried things, and then I may carry it through my life or not, but I kind of try one new thing for the year. And this was on my bucket list. This yoga certification was on my bucket list. I really, really wanted to do it. Also, invariably, I find that if you want to immerse yourself deeper in the yoga practice, the only way to do that in the world now is to get a certificate where the rigor is kind of built in. You're doing hours and hours and hours of yoga. You're understanding the how, why, what theory of it, the body mechanics, all of that.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. So in my 50th year, I went and I joined this school, this yoga school, and I got my certification.
That's
After
amazing.
that, I was ready to teach anyone who wanted to learn, because this time I will not. I'm one of those old romantic people. I'm very ethical about this is right and this is wrong. And I just could not bring myself to do a yoga class unless I had a certificate.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did I learn much more in this class than I already knew? Of course. I mean, you evolve with learning, right?
Yeah.
Did I need that certificate to teach? Maybe not.
Mm-hmm.
But I had the tool with me.
Yeah.
And then I was invited to actually teach in the gym that I went to, my CrossFit gym.
Okay.
So I did a Sunday class there. That kind of went on for about a year. Something else. And then, of course, lockdown happened. The last year I haven't taught yoga, in fact. And a lot of my friends were saying, Anju, you need to do this. You're practicing yoga.
Mm-hmm.
There's a entertainment aggregator here that called bookmyshow.com, which reached out and said, can we do something with you to teach yoga? I did it for 7 days. It was a public thing. And that's where I let my inhibitions kind of go, because teaching a class, Rashmi, is very different from teaching online. I have learned so much from this online to just be a better communicator. To, when I can go in a class and kind of correct a posture, but now I have to correct it in words. I have to make sure they're able to sort of visualize this for their own body, for their own balance, and then get into this asana, get into this particular posture pose.
And
So
doing
I
all
just
that
decided,
while doing your own postures, right?
Yes. I enjoy the challenge. I revel in it. I am having such a blast doing it.
Amazing.
I have about 11 people join in. I mean, it's not like I advertised for it or anything.
So yeah, if people want to join in, I know timing wise for us it's a little different, but I happened to open up one day and it said, you were doing a live session. I'm like, hey, it's almost 9:45, 10 at night. Who cares? I'll just join it. It was great. I joined one of your online sessions and it was so much fun.
Thank you. And actually these sessions, I have someone doing it from Seattle, someone doing it from Singapore, someone doing it from Norway. So the sessions actually stay open for 24 hours. So it's sort of, it kind of, it's a global thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's where do people find this information?
It's not advertised. but I'm taking these classes on my Facebook Live.
Okay, it's on Facebook Live. Okay.
Yeah, Facebook Live. But they are private sessions, so there are privacy settings. But anyone who wants to join pings me, and they join the class, and we've become a nice little about 12, 14 of us actually now practicing together. And I do a WhatsApp support for everyone. And we're getting stronger as a class, as a session passes, and we're learning more and more about our body. But it's not a, oh my God, yoga is my puja, yoga is my this, oh my God, we have to be so serious. I have fun in my yoga class, and you've seen that, right?
Yeah.
It really is a yoga class where it's very inclusive. It's very, see what your body can do today.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about standing on one little finger, and that's not the kind of yoga I do. It's more internal. It's more working on the inside.
Mm-hmm. And you're also working on the new project called, a place called home.
Yeah.
Is that something you're ready to share with us yet, or is that a secretive project for now?
It's not, I can share what I can share. So why don't I do that? I'll share bits, and then
Okay.
I'll get some curiosity, and maybe another time when we chat, I can share some more.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not really taken, it's not really sort of, out there for public consumption yet. It's work in progress. It's an idea that has come to me often in life. Um, I come from a home where my parents separated when I was very, very little, very young actually, not little. I was just entering my teens. And this longing for home. And when I say home, I don't really mean four walls. I mean, just a belonging. Um, Sometimes you find it in a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you find it in a room. Sometimes you find it in an emotion. So it's really sort of more esoteric than home. The
True.
way we think of home. And so I was talking to my sister who actually lives in Washington, D.C.
Okay.
And I said, I've been wanting to do this for so long, just collect stories from people on the concept of home.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, really? And we were chatting. And again, COVID times, everyone's home. We have a lot of time to chat now. Otherwise, we're all sort of running. And
Yes.
with the America India time, it's just so difficult to find
Mm-hmm.
that right sweet spot where you can chat for a long time. So we did. And she was so excited. And she said, hey, listen, I'm coming on board and we're going to do this together. So that is what we're doing. We already have a website.
Okay.
And the website is going to be the repository of all these stories. And we reached out to artists, we reached out to poets, artists of all genres, to ask them to express the concept of a place called home if they want to. And soon, very soon, we will launch a podcast of stories of a place called home.
Mm-hmm.
Individual stories of people, their experiences, their memories, of whatever it is that they associate with the word home.
That's wonderful. We are definitely looking forward to it. And
Yeah.
my last question, Anju, before we wind up is, what advice would you give to the next generation of female leaders who, even today we live in a male dominated industry to a great extent. So what advice would you give them in today's COVID times? And it's a changed world today, the new normal they call it. So what's
To give an advice, I'm actually going to tell you I'm just going to share a couple of thoughts on what I think the impact of COVID is going to be on women. And I think that it's going to be fairly severe on women, actually. In any society, the marginalized are always going to take the brunt of any calamity or a pandemic or this kind of thing. So like in India, the migrants are taking the the absolute brunt of it. Like so, I feel that in the world, not just in India, it is the women that are going to be hugely impacted by COVID. As it is in the lockdown, not everyone's as lucky as Rashmi and Anju to have, supportive partners who are doing the work with you. I read a lovely quote saying a man who's cleaning up his house or cooking at home is not helping his wife, is actually just doing the chores at home. but this and it's not necessarily an ethnic thing. It's just everywhere. The woman is supposed to be the caregiver, and not often does she find help. Now the woman now has been working, if she's a working woman, working outside the house, working woman I mean, then she's pulling that role. She's working in the house, she's caring for her children if she has children, pets, for babies or human babies. She's cooking, she's cleaning. The kind of impact that is going to have on women, I know that it's fairly frazzled. And then again, this whole glass ceiling that we talk about, sort of breaking the glass ceiling. Go back to work.
Exactly.
it's going to be a tough ask all over again. They're going to choose the men over the women all over again. Never mind this whole each for equal that we're sort of promoting,
Mm-hmm.
It really is the survival of the fittest. And in the work, the way the world sees it, the way that society sees it, the men are meant to be stronger than the women in a workplace.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that we are going to pay a fairly heavy price. What is my advice there for women? I mean, I'm no one to, I don't have large words to give out, but I think that now more than ever is the time to live our truth.
Mm-hmm.
Even as I say that we are going to be impacted by this, there are many things that have also sort of kind of come in our favor. Mm-hmm. Work from home was always frowned upon, right? Oh my God, she has a baby, she's to stay at home, mm-hmm. Your baby's not well. Who stays at home? Wife stays at home, husband goes out. Mostly, again, I'm not generalizing, but it is
majority, yes.
Yes. And thank you to all the good men who are not in this category, really. Big shout out to them. But I think that now the world more than ever has realized that work from home is a real option, not just for women, but for men. Mm-hmm. So perhaps that it'll be a little bit of a kinder world in that sense, mm-hmm. Work-wise, mm-hmm. where women can stay back and work from home. It is the new normal. Mm-hmm. Flexible hours have become. And again, I've always said this, that your efficiency cannot be measured by the number of hours you work. You could just be a damn good, efficient, organized person who can churn out the work that needs to be done in 5 hours instead of 8 hours. More power to you. And I think women can do that. I think women can do that.
So and we are known to juggle life. We are so good at it. We juggle, we multitask way more than any species, I think.
Even as I think that the world may be, and I say this for COVID times, I've said this, that we are going to see the best and the worst in people. Mm-hmm. Like so in the world. So worst case scenario, we're going to bear the brunt of it. Mm-hmm. Best case scenario, the world has woken up to the fact that we do so much work.
Exactly.
Our men have, seen how much work goes into keeping a house. Without, and in India, you know that we are used to house help because we don't have air-conditioned homes and stuff. We have a lot of people looking for work, become cheap sometimes, and we have a lot of house help. But with no house help, no nothing, the men pitching in, they're all seeing what it takes to run a home. Emotionally, mentally, what it takes. I'm not just talking about scrubbing dishes or doing the laundry. I'm actually talking about the mental space that it requires to look after the many, many needs of the many, many pockets of home. Mm-hmm. And perhaps the best case scenario is that we may have a world that recognizes us for what we do. I hope it does.
I hope it does. And on that, thank you so much, Anju. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you. And we will definitely stay in touch. You stay safe, stay healthy. And again, thank you for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you very much, Rashmi. I enjoyed the engagement. Thank you.